Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention releases a new AI strategy and guidance with an eye towards the use of agentic AI. And President Trump takes deeper aim at fraud with the launch of a new task force. It's Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. And now let's dive into the day's top headlines. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention launched a new strategy and guidance for the use of artificial intelligence last Thursday, setting a direction for the agency's own work and providing resources for public health officials across the nation. Those documents point to a desire to promote the adoption of the technology, empower the workforce to use it, and ensure the tools are governed properly. But more uniquely, the publications encourage the use of agentic or deep research AI uses, those that can autonomously carry out specific tasks, which the CDC is already tapping into. Almost 10% of CDC's roughly 100 AI use cases were agentic tools in 2025, according to the Department of Health and Human Services' recently reported AI use case inventory. Its share of agentic uses makes up roughly a third of such deployments across the department. As a result, the CDC's new strategy includes specific language to leverage that technology to support public health, strengthen research and data management, and improve access to data. And simultaneously, the agency released specific guidance for state, tribal, local, and territorial public health authorities on the use of AI agents for research based on experiences from its own exploration. Travis Hoppe, the CDC's acting chief AI officer, told FedScoop that one of the number one asks that the department got from its partners is guidance around agentic AI. The AI inventory showed where the agency was using the technology, and the new materials followed through with more information, Hoppe said. The promise of agentic tools for agencies like CDC is that they can go beyond uses like email summarization and prescriptive tasks to take action and move things forward, Hoppe said. For example, the CDC is already using a deep research tool to speed up the process of reviewing literature, data, policy, and other sources to inform decision-making. Now moving on to other news, the White House is planning to launch a new task force aimed at eliminating fraud in federally run programs, a goal that will be pursued largely through beefed-up data sharing processes. The executive order signed Monday by President Donald Trump is framed through the lens of various fraud cases in Minnesota involving Medicaid, a Department of Agriculture child nutrition program, and Small Business Administration loan programs during the COVID-19 pandemic. Investigations into the alleged fraud began under the Biden administration's Department of Justice, but the scandal has since been wielded by the Trump White House to freeze funds and strip away benefits from residents of the Gopher State. Under Trump's new order, the task force will be charged with developing a national strategy to combat fraud in federal benefits programs. The EO calls specifically for new measures to improve eligibility verification processes and create controls to prevent the dispersal of improper payments. The task force will also be required to promote the facilitation of information and data sharing and coordination between state, local, tribal, and territorial governments and the federal government and benefit providing agencies and law enforcement agencies per the order. Interagency data sharing would additionally be prioritized as part of an overarching enforcement push aimed at disrupting and dismantling fraud networks and facilitators, the EO states. The task force, which will be led by the vice president and tap the chair of the Federal Trade Commission to serve as the number 2, will also include representatives from the Departments of Treasury, Labor, Justice, Homeland Security, Agriculture, Health and Human Services, and Education, as well as several other agencies charged with administering federal benefits programs. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, make sure to visit fedscoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back tomorrow with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, as always, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.